It's the end of 2017, and with that, it's official. Mahoujin Guru was the best anime that wasn't Shogun Roku, and nobody watched it! Now, if you somehow don't believe me, you either aren't one of the
2,853
something people that haven't finished it yet, or you're a filthy liar! Guru is not only the best anime I watched in 2017, but it's one of the best high fantasy anime I've ever seen. And it's one of the greatest remakes ever created. Yes. Yeah, let's be honest, probably. Now, that praise might be misinterpreted, so let me clarify. I'm not talking about one show being better than the other. I'm talking from an adaptation standpoint. Guru manages to be a complete adaptation, something we all know is a rarity for anime adaptations, in just its 24-episode runtime. Now, that wouldn't be anything to sniff at if it weren't for the 159 chapter count. If you look at the ratios for chapter to episode count, that is staggering. But then you must think to yourself, that had to have been totally butchered and rushed, right? No way is that a competent adaptation. Well, it isn't just competent, it damn near improves the experience. How do I know? I actually sat down and watched all of the two previous adaptations, as well as dug through the whole manga to find out how this adaptation really plays out. Keep in mind that this isn't going to be a play-by-play of the story, but there will be story elements referenced, so you may consider those spoilers, but nothing major. Nor will this be a review of the series itself. Just take my initial praise to heart and seriously check it out for yourself. Okay, so first thing I want to get out of the way. I have crunched the numbers, and here is a chart of how 2017 generally adapts 1994, Doki, and the manga. Now, I'm not going to go episode by episode of what changes they made, what they cut, etc. I'll just give you the cliff notes, because thankfully this is a pretty easy situation to chart out. The manga ran from 1992 to 2003, so already you can see that neither of the prior anime adapt the whole story. 94 covers up to episode 7 of 2017, and chapter 31 of the manga, until episode 31 of 45, where the spiritual guide Wanchin, or Bark Wiener, or Dog Dick, however you want to translate that, sends our heroes on a mission different from the source material, triggering everyone's least favorite form of entertainment, anime original content. Only stick around, because that point gets extra spicy later on. Afterwards, Doki Densetsu comes out in 2000 and picks up where 94 left off, but only manages to adapt up to episode 17 of 2017, and chapter 94 of the manga. Seriously, the weird number parallels are throwing me off. Until in the very last episode of Doki, where it just stops, and there's a trippy anime original ending with no conclusion whatsoever. Okay! The weird part about this, though, is that there were at least 20 chapters that were out when Doki stopped. So why didn't they choose to go anime original at any point, or just catch up to the manga any further? Why stop where they did? Whether they were unexpectedly canceled, 38 does seem like a strange episode count, or they just ran out of money, or time, or something, I have no idea. Either way, 2017 finishes adapting the 68 remaining chapters of the manga in its last 7 episodes, which after over 20 years since the first anime began, we have a complete adaptation. Now, take another look at those statistics. 94 and Doki couldn't adapt the whole manga in almost 70 episodes of content, not including the 14 anime original episodes of 94. So how does 17 adapt this content and more in nearly a third of its runtime? The secret is in one of everyone's favorite anime buzzwords: pacing. Take any one episode of 2017 and you'll see that it moves at a breakneck pace. Jokes are flying every few seconds, multiple story beats are opened and closed within minutes, and there's at least 2 or 3 new characters introduced every episode. This would be cause for alarm for many of you would-be anime critics out there, but this speed is the key ingredient to this adaptation's success. Guru is told like a traditional fantasy adventure, where the characters are always on the move, hopping from level to level, or story arc to story arc. This is less of an episodic journey and more of a spend a few chapters or episodes in this location or situation, then move on to the next one for the next few chapters or episodes. There's hardly a chapter or episode of 94 and Doki Doki that doesn't have story arcs that go for multiple installments. These can last from 5 to 10 episodes. They each take up huge chunks of the story, and 17 spends at most 3 episodes on one arc. Most arcs get only 1 or 2 episodes, and trust me, I've actually watched and read through everything you can consume of Guru Guru. 17 presents each of these arcs at their fullest capacity. The only corners cut are the jokes. Some of them are trimmed, others are cut completely, but none of them become missing pieces to the story. You really don't miss a thing watching 2017, which is remarkable that such a big story can be so easily digested in a 2-core anime series. Of course, this is not going to work for most stories, especially ones with plots as complex and drama or tension as heavy as something like Hunter x Hunter or Fullmetal Alchemist. Guru Guru fits perfectly for this kind of pacing because it's almost exclusively an action comedy adventure with straightforward, simple story arcs. The reason this pace has only applied to Guru Guru now, and not in 94 or Doki Doki, was purely for the fact that the manga was simply not completed by the time either series went into production. With the manga publishing for over a decade, and running in a monthly magazine like Shonen Gangan, roughly 27 chapters had been made before 94 premiered, with only catching up to the manga 4 chapters after. Doki Doki fell the same fate, roughly 96 chapters when it premiered, and then not even reaching that far before it ended. We run into this problem time and 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 time again. And it's as much the manga's fault as it is the anime. This is just the nature of serialization, forcing creators' hands to continue their stories until they're cancelled or put on hiatus. And it's a problem Guru 17 managed to actually conquer in a compact, vibrant, and exciting way. Again, this video isn't so much to sell you to watch Guru Guru, but seriously, it doesn't hurt that this is a phenomenally good show. However, I would be remiss to take the anime normie's perspective in saying that this is further evidence of anime original content being automatically bad. Flat out fact, it isn't. The manga is by no means infallible. It is possible for anime original content to add to the overall experience of a story. Think of it less as non-canon and more of alternative canon. And Mahoujin Guru Guru actually proves my point. This is where I think the story of adapting this manga to anime becomes truly remarkable. Now, I decided to watch 94 alongside 2017, which of course became arduous when I had to watch the same content in 1 episode get stretched out into 4 episodes, but it was still worth it. When I got to the point where the two split ways, I watched 94's anime original content while 17 was busy airing what Doki Doki adapted, while also watching Doki Doki alongside it. Yeah, I got kind of obsessed with this show. When watching the anime original content from, at the time of its airing, 1995, one of the first significant plot points is that the hero Nikkei learns the which allows him to distract his enemies and make him float a little bit. It becomes a signature technique of his. So, you can imagine my surprise watching episode 17 of 2017 and reading chapter 94, weeks later, witnessing the first appearance of Kakui Pose, only in a whole different context. An isolated incident like that could be chalked up to coincidence, but it happened again. Another story element that's even more significant is Akuma Kukuri, who makes a brief appearance toward the end of a later anime original episode of 94, and she appears even earlier in the manga and anime than Kakui Pose. Then, there's the story bit I loved in 94 where it was discovered that Kukuri had never had chocolate before, because she grew up with her grandmother telling her that it was poison, which was only to prevent Kukuri from eating her chocolate. She of course loves it, and it becomes a source of gaining back her magic power. What a shock that it comes up later in 2017, again in different context.
What a story, Mark.
Yeah, you can say that again.
3 story beats that I first saw in 94 before 2017 and the manga. My initial thought before I dug into the manga was, perhaps the manga got to this point and the anime staff knew they couldn't adapt that far but wanted to include them in some way in the filler. Neat. But no! Kakui Pose, Akuma Kukuri, and the chocolate thing all originated from the anime original content. How do I know? While the release of the different chapters can only be rough guesses, the concrete evidence lies in this cover panel for chapter 81 of the manga, celebrating their 5th anniversary since 1992. This means that chapter 81 came out at least in 1997. That's almost 2 whole years after that anime original content was aired. And Akuma Kukuri was only first introduced 2 chapters prior to that. Never mind Kakui Pose and Chocolate appearing over 10 chapters later. The only explanation is that the manga was influenced by the anime, retroactively making those episodes alternative canon. Let me repeat that. This is a situation where filler, a cardinal sin of the anime community, positively affected the infallible source material. While I don't have any interviews that confirm this, the end result is clear. The author saw this anime original content and was inspired to include bits that he liked from those episodes into his story, albeit tweaking it to make it his own. This isn't just evidence of good filler. This is an instance where filler can add to the overall experience. Does that mean all non-canon is good? Of course not. But I think this means that filler can't be inherently dismissible. We should give non-canon a chance and judge it on its own merits, not by the meta factors of its existence. Compare and contrast all you want, weigh in on which is better. That's what I find fun when watching a lot of manga to anime adaptations. But this should be evidence that the manga is not always superior to the anime. Even if this content brings nothing substantial, or changes anything, which is the case for a lot of filler, why not just allow it to be more time you get to spend with these characters, in this story, in this world? If you're just impatient and want to get to the next plot point already, you might not be enjoying what the show is offering in the first place. And side note, don't come at me with the difference between filler and non-canon. Anything that an anime changes from a one-to-one adaptation is anime original content, no matter how minute, which is why I think one-to-one adaptations are kind of boring and unnecessary, but that's beside the point. So I'm sure the question you've had all this time is the 1994 anime and subsequently the 2000 sequel worth watching? Obviously, 2017 is the ideal adaptation, being the complete story and with the right pacing and just more animation. But is there any merit to the previous installments? Well, like most previous adaptations, I would say yes, but only for 1994. I'll explain. For one, there's that sweet alternative canon last third, which actually includes 1 or 2 mini-arcs inside those first 31 episodes that you won't see in 2017. Second, the 2 things that I would extend as compliments to both adaptations: more jokes and longer time spent with the characters. I think it's a little talked about phenomena that the longer time you spend with a character or a cast of characters, the more they endear to you. That's why I think this show manages to affect me so much, because I've spent so much time with these characters in multiple variations, as well as why longer shows overall tend to be more favored in the long run than shows that are 12 or 13 episodes, but I digress. And yes, there are some jokes that I wish made it into 2017, such as the mini documentary of one of my favorite gag characters ever, the Sapari Fairy.
Sappari, sappari, sappari. Sappari妖精の朝は早い。Sappari, sappari, sappari な。Sappari, sappari な。そしてこの世のさっぱりを求めて出勤。
Or the time when the monsters fought the heroes as Super Sentai, or when the heroes trapped one of the bad guys in an infinite loop of the show's eye catch. Third is just for the incredibly retro aesthetic that screams old school 90s fantasy, and closer resembles the brand of comedy and facial reactions this author likes to employ. Of course, there's a few downsides. You'll have to understand that this is far slower paced, at one point stretching a 3-chapter arc into 5 episodes, something 2017 manages to bang out in 1 episode. Plus, something both old adaptations have is a very heavy reliance on a narrator, just to emphasize the text boxes that the author uses as flair, to make it seem more JRPG-esque, but can come off as a bit overbearing or irritating for some, which 2017 averts completely by just flashing the text box without narration. One of the most effective corners of time they trim. Other than that, I do recommend checking out 94 if you don't mind reliving the first third of the story over again 4 times slower. Or even just checking out the filler episodes 12, 13, 22, 23, and especially 32 onwards. It drops the multi-episode arc format and many of the recurring ensemble cast, and becomes a cute episodic adventure with its own small characterization tweaks, and a more straightforward mission that the heroes fulfill before taking down the Demon King in a different perspective. Unfortunately, Doki Doki Densetsu does not hold the same appeal. While it does have cut jokes and longer time with the characters, I don't think that warrants 38 episodes. The narrator is still prevalent, there's no interesting anime original content, and while the art actually reflects the author's evolved and improved art style, it comes off far more dated and looks like it belongs on 4Kids alongside Sonic X, Kirby, and Fighting Foodons. Plus, the fan subs shit the bed in the last third, worse than any subtitle job I've ever seen, so ultimately I don't recommend it. What I do recommend, of course, is to spread the word on Mahoujin Guru Guru, and perhaps retroactively make it one of the anime we actually remember from 2017, 5 years from now. It's cute, it's fun, it's a riot, it's exciting, it's not some too deep for you thinking man shit, it's actually on Crunchyroll and not behind a fucking paywall. This is the good time shit! With how non-popular it was, I don't think we'll be getting a physical release of it, which really stinks, because you'll never see a more magical adaptation than this. And you'll never see a better adaptation video than this one, am I right? Ha ha! Thank you so much for stopping by. If you want to experience more of the magic of this channel, I recommend subscribing for more, but also becoming a patron like all these fine folk who, for the first time, make this video possible. Special shouts to Beamburst and Eardan. Thank you everyone so much for sticking around and supporting me. I'll be back soon.